In the heart of Yakutia, one of the coldest inhabited places on earth, an incredible story of courage unfolded, proving that the human spirit can be as fierce as the wild itself. Imagine this: the sun hangs low in the sky, casting long eerie shadows across a landscape blanketed in endless snow. The air is so cold it bites at your skin, and the silence is broken only by the whistling wind. For an 80-year-old woman living in this remote wilderness, life is a daily battle for survival. Her world is small, centered around her humble home and her most precious possession, a single milk goat. This goat isn't just an animal. It's her lifeline, her source of nourishment, and her companion in the vast frozen solitude. One afternoon that fragile peace was shattered. A shadow, swift and silent, darted from the edge of the forest. It was a snow leopard, one of the most elusive and powerful predators in the world. With breathtaking speed, the leopard snatched the goat and vanished back into the trees, leaving behind nothing but a set of tracks and a chilling silence. For many, this would be the end of the story, a devastating loss, but one you accept when living on the edge of the wild. You would retreat into your home, lock the door, and mourn the loss of your only source of milk. But this was no ordinary woman. She was forged by the hardships of Yakutia, her will as unyielding as the permafrost beneath her feet. She didn't hesitate, she didn't weep. Instead, a fire ignited in her eyes. Refusing to surrender, she grabbed the first thing she could find that might serve as a weapon and a light, a torch. With the wood wrapped tightly, she lit it, the flame a small defiant beacon against the encroaching dusk. Then she did the unthinkable. She plunged into the forest, following the leopard's tracks into the deepening gloom. The snow was knee-deep, each step a monumental effort. The cold was relentless, and the only sounds were the crunch of her own footsteps and the distant howl of the wind through the skeletal trees. Anyone else would have turned back, defeated by the cold, the darkness, and the sheer terror of pursuing a deadly predator. But she pressed on. Her determination was fueled by more than just the need to get her goat back. It was a refusal to be a victim, a testament to a lifetime of resilience. The tracks led her deeper and deeper into the wilderness, a place where humans are intruders and nature's laws are absolute. As daylight faded completely, the forest transformed into a labyrinth of shadows. Her small torch cast dancing, distorted shapes on the snow and trees, making the world feel both smaller and infinitely more menacing. She knew the leopard was somewhere ahead, and she knew it would not give up its prize easily. Still, she walked on, her breath plumbing in the frigid air, her resolve unshaken. This was no longer just about a goat. It was a matter of principle. It was a declaration that even at 80 years old, in the heart of the Siberian wilderness, she would not be broken. The trail began to climb. She found herself navigating a narrow, treacherous path along a cliffside. One wrong step could send her plunging into the abyss below. The wind was stronger here, threatening to extinguish her only source of light. It was on this perilous ledge that she finally found them. There, just ahead, was the snow leopard. It was crouched over the lifeless body of her goat, its powerful muscles tensed, its eyes glowing like embers in the torchlight. The predator let out a low, guttural growl, a warning that echoed off the frozen rock. This was its skill, and it was ready to defend it to the death. The air crackled with tension. The frozen silence of Yakutia became the stage for an epic confrontation. Here she was, an 80-year-old woman, armed with nothing but a flaming piece of wood, standing face to face with one of nature's most perfect killing machines. The leopard was a specter of raw power and instinct, but the woman was a force of a different kind, a force of pure, stubborn will. She held her ground, her gaze locked with the leopard's. She didn't scream or run. Instead, she took a step forward, brandishing her torch. She yelled, her voice raw and powerful, a sound that defied her age and the overwhelming odds. She waved the flame wildly, its heat and light a language the ancient predator understood. It was a language of danger, of a threat it hadn't anticipated from such a seemingly frail creature. The standoff was heart-stopping. The leopard hissed, its ears flat against its head, its fangs bared. It was torn between its instinct to protect its meal and its instinct for self-preservation. It had likely never encountered a human who didn't flee in terror. This woman was different. She was not prey. She was a rival, a challenger for this piece of territory and this prize. For what felt like an eternity, they were locked in this primal battle of wills. The woman advanced again, shouting, waving her torch, making herself appear larger and more formidable than she was. The fire danced, casting terrifying shadows, confusing and unnerving the wild cat. Finally, something in the leopard broke. Perhaps it was the fire, the unrelenting noise, or the sheer baffling audacity of this human. With a final frustrated snarl, the snow leopard backed away. It hesitated for a moment, its golden eyes still fixed on the woman, then it turned and melted back into the shadows of the forest, disappearing as silently as it had arrived. It was over. The woman stood there, breathing heavily, the torchlight flickering on her weathered face. She had won. She had faced down a snow leopard and reclaimed what was hers. Slowly she made her way to her goat. The animal was gone, but she had stared into the eyes of the wild and refused to blink. With incredible effort, she shouldered the goat and began the long, arduous journey back home. The walk back was just as treacherous, but now it was a walk of triumph. She had ventured into the heart of darkness and emerged not just alive but victorious. This story is more than just a tale of survival. It's a powerful reminder of the strength that lies within us, a strength that has nothing to do with age or physical power. It's about the fierce, unyielding will to protect what is ours, to fight for our existence, and to never ever give up, no matter how intimidating the odds. The 80-year-old woman of Yakutia, with her torch and her indomitable spirit, teaches us that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the refusal to let it win. Thank you so much for watching. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales from around the world. We'll see you in the next video.